I'm also going to help the sales team in doing the check off and marking people, but also then I'm connecting with the investors direct, and I'm there to answer any questions and help from the property management side of things. Also, whilst we're growing the business, whilst I'm there, I'm doing a bit of marketing photography, videos, and behind the scenes, and trying to build our social profile that way. So it's kind of merging the two, making sure I'm not hindering the sales, I'm complementing the sales. Ultimately, the goal is to sell the property. And if I can assist investors whilst doing that, then I will. So I do work with buyer's agents, doing video walkthroughs, really talking to as many people as possible and providing value to them. It's not about, ultimately it's about getting the management, but that's not how you need to go to these clients, because if they can tell, if you're there just to get the sale, you're not going to get it. You need to provide value and just be in the office. I keep saying to our team, people do business with people. We've lost that as an industry as a whole. I feel that we've lost that human interaction. We've stepped back into sending emails and not doing that face-to-face or even video messages, and just getting your face in front of people and just building that connection that way brings it back tenfold.
Welcome to the Property Management Podcast. I'm Kylie Walker, aka That Property Mum. Today we have a special focus on starting a property management department from scratch. And creating this from the ground up involves meticulous planning, setting up robust processes, and navigating the challenges of working with a sales-focused leadership. Now, I started my business from scratch with zero experience in property management, as I've mentioned in many episodes. And this I do not recommend for anyone. I didn't know the legislation. I didn't know how to process an application or receipt rent. I was absolutely clueless on everything. We were a sales-only business that started managing properties. And I'm not going to lie, it was extremely challenging and difficult. But I worked it all out. It did cause a few grey hairs and sleepless nights, but I got there in the end. And if I had my time again, I'd do things exactly like my guest in this episode did. So to help us unravel this complex journey, we are joined by Alicia McCulloch from Aquasun Estate Agents in Western Australia. Alicia is not only a seasoned property management expert, but also a working mum of 3. Her unique growth strategies includes tending open homes with sales agents to foster collaboration and drive investor relationships. Alicia's forward-thinking approach and dedication to innovation have been pivotal in her success, making her insights incredibly valuable for anyone looking to establish or improve their property management operations. She has 13 years industry experience, and when she was tasked with the challenge to set up a property management department for a successful sales business, she jumped at the challenge. But she took her time. She got the foundations right first. And from there, the managements have rolled in. And don't get me wrong, she's made a few mistakes and overcome some challenges, all of which she generously outlines inside this episode. So whether you're a seasoned real estate professional or just stepping into property management, this episode is packed with actionable advice to help you lay a strong foundation for your property management department. So sit back, take some notes, and get ready to learn from Alicia. Alicia, thank you so much for joining me on the Property Management Podcast. Before we dive in, can you share with our audience a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the industry?
Definitely. Well, firstly, thank you for having me, Kylie. So I first started, I kind of fell into the industry. I was a 17-year-old girl, had left school and was working at a takeaway restaurant, and I hated it. I love the customer service aspect, but I wanted to get out. So I looked online and there was a receptionist job. So I took that, started off at reception, was there only for about 6 months until I turned 18 and did my course. And I really just hit the ground running from there. So started off as a junior property manager on about 60 properties, and then within a week it doubled. So that was a little bit stressful. My very first day as a property manager was the day after we had massive storms. And I would say 100% of our portfolio had damage. So it was very chaotic.
How to throw you in the deep end.
I was so scared. The phone did not stop ringing. I didn't know what to do. Everyone's got damage. It was just chaos. I remember it vividly. It took about a year to get all the properties fixed. So it was the worst I've ever dealt with, and it's been fine since. So that works well. Yeah, then I guess I've just kind of plodded along between different property manager roles. I was in a training role, which was great. I then increased my knowledge and did my triennial certificate, which is fantastic. And then in between all of this, I've had a couple of, well, 3 children. So had a little bit of break in between. And yeah, now I am in a role where I started the property management division from scratch and yeah, building on that portfolio.
That's amazing. So when I usually talk to somebody who's a property manager, I like to always ask this question, and that's around what are some of the struggles you're experiencing right now, and what are some of the solutions that you have found to some of those struggles? Because 9 times out of 10, your struggles, other people are struggling, and I love to not only identify the struggles and let people know, hey, you're not alone, but also let them know that there is some solutions to some problems.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess the struggle that I'm dealing with at the moment is, how do I say this nicely? Owners' expectations of price ranges that are exceeding the current market value. So yes, we've seen an absolute increase in rental prices, which is great for our investors. But not all properties worth absolutely sky high prices. And we are seeing a lot of investors that have purchased properties recently at really high prices, so need to attract really high rents and might not be sustainable. So I guess it's just managing those expectations from the beginning. I work a lot with buyers agents and I give a really realistic figure when I'm giving appraisals. So I know that some agents like to do the higher end. I actually prefer to do the lower end for people to do for investors, to do their finances on as a minimum. And then anything above that is a positive. And it's just really setting those expectations from the beginning, but also educating. We're dealing with a lot of over east investors at the moment in WA. And I guess it's just educating them on the WA market, on what tenants are actually looking for in properties, because not every property is a good investment property, which I think a lot of people think it is. So, for example, it's just, to nutshell it, it's education and just trying to give that to people. Also, we're seeing an increase in people's entitlement and expectations and wanting an instant reply when that's not necessarily possible. So again, it's just managing expectations for tenants and owners. And say we're getting absolutely overwhelmed in emails as a property manager, making sure you respond. Now, you don't have to respond to what their question is, but just acknowledging that you've got the email. You're a little bit, not overwhelmed, but you're a little bit under the pump, but you will in high demand is what I've learned. So we're in high demand today and we will respond by and giving an expectation, but making sure you respond by that deadline often works in a busy schedule.
That's great advice. And I'm experiencing exactly the same issues as you. And I'm sure many listening will be experiencing those issues as well. So that's some great advice there as well. But let's talk about how you go from being a property manager to now starting a property management division. As we discussed, it's for originally a sales only business. So there are going to be some challenges there with having the business owners understanding property management and the challenges that you have in property management. And so how have you navigated that for starters? And then we'll dive into talking a bit more about some of the processes and stuff that you've put in place to get that division up and running.
So my favorite saying that I say very regularly is welcome to property management. Something will happen and welcome to property management, because it is so different to sales. I guess it's a lot of educating my boss and educating the other sales agent that we have here on it's different. And they talk, while sales has a lot more zeros on the price, property management is more long term. We're dealing with owners, tenants, contractors, everybody. And it's not just for a short period of time. So we're needing to do things differently. And it's just, there's been a lot of education. Whilst they are knowledgeable and they have their triennial and they know the textbook knowledge, there's a lot of knowledge that comes from experience. So to get into kind of this role, I really moved up in different positions, as I said, in my previous role, which all led to this, which is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, it's just a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
Really, for them.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I've also learned a lot from the sales aspect, which I think has helped me from a property management perspective. So we're really mutually beneficial, which is great.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. It is about working together. And I think the most important thing is that you do work as a team, because there's lots of opportunities for cross work there. Not only you getting more managements in the door, but also for them getting opportunities to sell if, as the rent roll gets bigger and grows, there's opportunities for them to sell off out of that rent roll as well, which is, guaranteed listings for them, isn't it? So, but let's talk about, let's talk about the process of starting a property management division. I'm assuming there wasn't any processes, procedures. You've had to start everything from scratch. So where did you start? How did you get it all together without, overwhelming yourself?
So I started a couple of days a week in January of last year. Now, I'd had a baby and she was about 5 months old, so I wanted to transition into work, which worked really well because there were so many things in the back end that had to get done. Initially we combined the trust accounts and had one single trust account for sales and rentals, but we had to change our insurances, set up the really back end property management software. Now, software has been an ordeal and it's been stressful. But initially when I started, I just tacked on the property management module of the software that we were using for sales, because that just was the easiest way to have a combined trust account and just to make it as easy as possible. Not a good decision in hindsight.
What was that? Do you mind me asking, what was that software?
It was Volts. So we were using Volts. And I think that the sales side of things was fine. Not great, but fine. Property management was not great. And since leaving, they've now said that they're no longer doing the property management upgrades. So it is what it is. So I'm very glad we left. We then moved to, I'm just going to talk about software for a second.
Yeah. No, that's good.
And if I can help anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
So then we moved to a different software that ideally, we were looking for a holy grail software that could combine sales and rentals and just be easy. I am yet to find one. It is impossible, but we didn't know that. So it's been a learning curve. So we moved to a different program that told me it was all in one and it was great. It's not. It was two completely separate programs, even though, which is fine, which then we had to open up a second trust account for our rentals only to be able to use that, which is, again, fine. A bit of a headache, but we got there. And then after using that software for a while, it just was not what I was promised, which was quite disappointing and a learning curve from me that I didn't do enough due diligence on that software and hindsight, which we learn and grow from. So we've had to change again.
So you jump in the chat room, you jump in chat groups. That's what you do for software recommendations.
I know.
Yeah, sorry, the hindsight, but yeah.
Oh, I know. So we've changed again. And back then, we were still trying to find that all-in-one program. And that's where we went wrong, but that's what we tried. I've now changed. We're in a completely different software for property management, and it's great. So it's been a long 18 months, and our clients have really bared with us because it's a bit frustrating for them as well. And a lot of work.
Who are you with now?
Currently, we are with Our Property.
Okay.
Which works really well. And we are loving it. There's still obviously no program's fantastic. No program has it all. But we're using that along with Inspection Express and IRE BDM. And it's working really well. And we are getting there. But I think going back to when we first started, I was working a couple of days a week just to get the basics sorted. We needed to get a bond account because that wasn't done. We needed to get every single letter created, every email created, and, a tenant's manual. everything from scratch. So that took a lot of time, and someone new to the industry just simply could not have done it because they don't have the experience or the knowledge to do that. So that took a while. And to be honest, I'm still working on it. I don't think you're ever done. And I think if you're not growing and expanding your procedures and your documents and everything, then you're not really thriving. So it'll never be a finished project, but hopefully it'll calm down soon.
Won't be as bad.
Yeah.
No, it does take a long time to set up all those processes and procedures and all those letters and checklists and templates. And then the next challenge will be then adding to your team. Have you added to the team yet, or are you still just a one-woman show right now? If you are anything like me, you think you know your rent roll numbers. Well, I thought I did until I had a rent roll health check, and I was quite literally shocked. The money I was leaving on the table was astounding. And this is not something that I'm proud to admit. There were missed management fees, let fees, advertising, and lease renewal fees not being charged, and properties even without bonds. And all of this was happening despite monthly audits being conducted in my business. So how did I uncover all these gaps in my valuable income? Well, I had a rent roll due diligence from my good friend Tazi, aka the Rent Roll Queen and founder of the Tazi Way, a specialist in rent roll due diligence, business valuation and management rights. The Tazi Way is the innovative force driving the real estate industry. With 25 years of business and real estate acumen, they find gaps and risks in your agency to find undiscovered value. If you'd like to book your business in for a rent roll due diligence, head to the link in the show notes and mention That Property Mum for a 10% discount. If you're ready to be a super organised, focused and productive property manager, buckle up, because Colmio is about to revolutionise the way that you work. Colmio is the driving force behind property management excellence in residential real estate. Now picture this, a comprehensive end-to-end system designed to be the beating heart of your property management tasks, manage your properties, owners and tenants, and handle payments, inspections, and even marketing listings without leaving the platform. Colmio is designed to be an all-in-one solution to all your property management needs. And here's the game changer. Colmio isn't just software. It's been awarded the most innovative prop tech Scale Up in 2023. Yes, you heard it right. Colmio has been recognised for their groundbreaking approach to property management software. How good is that? So property managers, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, dive into the future of property management with Colmio. You can book in a demo with the team today and go in their weekly draw for a Prezi gift card worth $100. All you need to do is to head to the link colmio.com/thatpropertymum, and Colmio is KOLMEO.
She starts in 2 weeks. I'm so excited.
Amazing.
So I prefer to train someone. So I've done a lot of training over my career, and I prefer to train someone from scratch because I'm quite particular with how I do things. So I find it's easier. I can train real estate. I just need the right person to be able to train real estate rather than having someone with already experience. Now, it'd be different if we were looking for a portfolio manager, like someone to step in, but we don't need that yet. We are still only on about 70 properties in the last year and a bit, which I think is good, but we're at the point now where I don't have enough time to focus on growth. So we're preemptively hiring someone, which is great because I've worked for other agencies where they only hire when you're absolute at the end of your tether struggling, whereas it's really refreshing that it's the complete opposite here, which is nice.
That's very good. So they will be like an assistant to you and taking care of, some other tasks for you. Do you have a VA at all?
We don't have a VA yet. I think that will be my next hire, will be a VA. I don't think we'll have another in-person office yet. But yeah, no, we're foreseeing her. So we're putting her through her traineeship. So to get her certificate, which will be great, or her registration, which will be great. And yeah, it'll just be learning the ropes as a property manager, doing a lot of the admin tasks, and yeah, just eventually at her, when she's comfortable and knowledgeable enough, she'll take on a portfolio, and I'll kind of cut back on the actual managing because I really do want to focus on growth.
Yeah. And I think that's really important as you grow your team as well, that you build your team around you with people who complement your strengths and weaknesses. So, for me, I'm so unorganized that I can't do out of office tasks. I've just got to be in the office doing the in office task, or talking to people, talking to clients, talking to tenants. That's what I'm good at. So I always build teams around me that'll take care of the ingoings, the outgoings, the routine inspections. That is not my strong point. Attention to detail is not my strong point. So I like to make sure that I build that team around me. And I didn't think I was good at growth. I had this story that I told myself that I wasn't really good at, I couldn't do growth. I wasn't a BDM. And then I spent nearly 2 years as a BDM. We were in a position where we had to grow. And it was really, was really successful. So it's silly sometimes how you tell yourself stories and then you actually sit in and build a process and do it. And again, I had really good people around me that got all the admin stuff done so that I could then just make phone calls and take incoming phone calls as leads came in. But so that was just something I wanted to highlight for anyone that is looking to expand their team, to make sure that you get people that will take the tasks that A, you don't really want to do, but B, you're not really good at doing either. So
Oh, that is so true. And it takes growth as a person to identify what you're not good at. And accepting that you're not necessarily, you can't be good at everything. So, that's definitely where we're going. And yeah, it's good.
And so talk to me how you're growing your managements at the moment. What growth strategies are you using and what's working for you?
So the biggest one, as I'm sure a lot of Western Australian agents are doing, is your investor support, working with the sales team. I am going to home opens with the sales team of properties that are suitable for buyers. I'm not going to ones that, to investors.
Investors, yep. They're all suitable for buyers.
Yes, exactly. So I'm not going to every single one, but I'm also going to help the sales team in doing the check offer marking people, but also then I'm connecting with the investors direct. And I'm there to answer any questions and help from the property management side of things. Also, whilst we're growing the business, whilst I'm there, I'm doing a bit of marketing photography, videos, and behind the scenes, and trying to build our social profile that way. So it's kind of merging the two, making sure I'm not hindering the sales, I'm complementing the sales. Ultimately, the goal is to sell the property. And if I can assist investors whilst doing that, then I will. So I do work with buyers agents, doing video walkthroughs, really talking to as many people as possible and providing value to them. Ultimately, it's about getting the management, but that's not how you need to go to these clients, because if they can tell, if you're there just to get the sale, you're not going to get it. You need to provide value and just be in the office. I keep saying to our team, people do business with people. We've lost that as an industry as a whole. I feel that we've lost that human interaction. We've stepped back into sending emails and not doing that face to face, or even, video messages, and just getting your face in front of people and just building that connection that way brings it back tenfold.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And value is the most important thing in that relationship building. And I love that strategy. What I think people miss is the strategy sometimes with lead generation and growth. You've got to have that strategy behind it. So going to open homes and assisting, and then also secondly, getting social content as well. That's brilliant. Kill two birds with one stone. But yeah, I love your strategy there. So, and that strategy may not always work as you get less investors coming into the market. And then, then you've got to find that next strategy that's going to work for you as well. So that's really good. What's the market like? Do you foresee that investor market slowing down? So many interstate investors buying up over there. Do you foresee that slowing down? And for you, what strategies have you maybe got in that pipeline coming up?
Yep. So personally, I don't see it slowing down for the next few years, just because we're still one of the most affordable states. And what may not seem affordable for local investors, it's very affordable for non-local investors. And it's all just, what they're used to. So I don't foresee that slowing down, but also we just need to make sure that we're not forgetting the local investors, the mum and dad investors, the accidental investors, because they're your bread and butter. They're the ones that will always be here no matter what. They cycle in and out, but they will always be here. Whereas it's just the east or overseas investors are kind of like the icing on the cake, but you still need the cake there. So you still need to do your normal, back to basics. I'm not door knocking, but sending out your flyers, sending community engagement, business to business referrals, and building relationships and just building your network is what we need to make sure that everyone's doing, not just BDMs, but your property managers, your sales agents. All of that you can't forget about the basics because the basics work.
Absolutely. Now, I love personal development, and it sounds like you do too, from what you've said. So share with our audience a little bit about something that a podcast, a book, a training, something that you think will help them.
So recently we've had this discussion in the office, and at the moment, I don't have accountability, which is an issue for me. I mean, as an employee, it should be great. There's no accountability, but I don't like that. I like to be challenged and I like to, so I have been involved in the IGT training group, part of the mastermind group, which is absolutely fantastic. Great for accountability, all of that. So I do listen to all of their podcasts and I'm always in the car. So I love that. I am also venturing out to more personal development growth, not necessarily real estate focused. I mean, it does all interlink, but it's not necessarily, fees or BDM or anything like that. So it's all the basics. Tony Robbins, what's that guy? Gary V.
Gary V. Yep. Love Gary V.
Yeah,
Yep.
I listen to him. I love how he's very realistic and doesn't filter it, which is great. And you may hear the same thing over and over, but one day it might actually resonate with an aspect of your life. So I'm definitely listening to podcasts a lot more. I would love to read books, but I just don't have the time.
No, not with kids.
No, it's too busy. So podcasts work really well. And I'm one that if you're not learning, I don't like it. So I am enrolling in a Cert 4 training and assessing course, which starts in a couple of months. So that's all going ahead. I don't know if that's somewhere where I foresee myself going in the future, but I just feel like that's the next step for me. Already gone as high without going to university in real estate. So that's kind of branching off whilst it still complements. So yeah, do you recommend any podcast? Obviously, I listen to all like the real estate like yours and all kind of like the real estate ones as well, which works really well.
Yeah, I love an audiobook. I'm like you. I've got 4 kids, although mine are all older now, but I find time really limited. And I like a fiction book before I go to bed. I read that every night. But yeah, I just walk my dogs and pop in an audiobook. I've just listened to Diary of a CEO. That was really good. I can't even think what else I've got. I've got a couple downloaded, but I can't think of the names of them. I'm having a menopause moment. But yeah, I've always got something on the go, podcast, audiobook. I'm just trying to think of I've been listening to a lot of podcasts from like mortgage brokers and investor educators and stuff like that, just to understand a little bit more about the conversations that they're having with investors out there. And then I've reached out to a few of them to be a guest on their podcast, talking about property management, because a lot of them don't have a lot of property management topics on there. So I've got 3, I think, appearances coming up on podcasts, which obviously is great to be building my expertise as a property management expert and investor educator. So yeah, sometimes, for me, doing the personal development can be a little bit strategic as well. So yeah, that might be a little tip for somebody listening. Yeah.
Yeah. And Ashley Goodchild said, I went to one of her events and she said, I can't remember exactly word for word, but it was like, just say yes. Like you might be scared, but say yes anyway and figure it out later. So that's what I'm doing. So yeah, just say yes. Just open up doors.
Absolutely. Well, if you were nervous about coming on here, I would not have guessed it. And I went on Ashley's back like 3 years ago, her podcast. I think hers might have been or was it the IGT podcast? One of their podcasts was the first one that I ever went on. And I was that nervous. I stuttered and said an R 1,000 times. And yeah, but anyway, exactly like Ash said, I just did it and said yes. So good on you for stepping out of your comfort zone. Thank you for sharing all that amazing advice and content. I'm sure there'll be lots of stuff, lots of takeaways there for anyone listening. How can anyone reach out and connect with you further?
So I'm on all this under @property manager. So TikTok, LinkedIn, all of that. So yeah, feel free to reach out and I'd be happy to connect.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Can I ask you a quick favour before you leave this episode? Now, we all know how important reviews are for businesses these days, and mine is no different. If you could spare just a minute to follow, rate and review this podcast, it would mean a lot to me. In fact, what would get me super excited is if you share this podcast with someone in the industry who you think might need to hear some of the episodes right now. And if you'd like to find out more about working with me or any of the products I have to help you start, grow or scale your property management business, head to my website, thatpropertymum.com.au, or check out the links in the show notes.